All right, it's like 5 in the morning. um, it's 5 in the morning, and I am nonetheless gonna do some drawing before I go to work. Anyway, not much is going on lately. I think we're getting into spring at this point. I mean, officially it's spring, but it's been a lot warmer lately. It's just, what is it today? Is Wednesday? I was watching a live stream yesterday of the Professionals, and this is one of those sort of revolving Comicsgate live streams with the the ex pros. I guess they're still pros. The pros who are doing independent books at this point. So it's like Aaron Lopresti, Art T. Bear, Dan Fraga, the great Dan Fraga was on there. Um, Billy Tucci. Who else was on there? A couple other people. Hosted by Andy Smith. And they were discussing Joe Kubert. Um, and everybody had pages or covers or pieces that they wanted to talk about in the show. And one thing I noticed, oh, come on. One thing I noticed that came up kind of late in the show is they're looking at some buildings that had been rendered as part of a, I don't know, splash page or something for Hawkman. And the buildings weren't drawn particularly photorealistically. They were kind of, um, well, the term I usually use is kind of faked in. Like you would see the shape and maybe some outlines and shadows of the windows, and it's a perfect representation of a building. Um, if you aren't looking directly at it, you definitely get the sense that there's a building there, and it looks correct because all the shadows are in the right place, um, without it being overly, I'm going to say overly rendered. And they're like, look at how he did this building. We could never get away with that. Like somebody even implied. And then somebody even in like the chat said something like, well, the standards for art weren't as high then. Um, which is undoubtedly true. I think that the art now for comics is better than any of the art that I ever experienced in the Bronze Age, or the late Silver Age. And um, so the art is way better, and it is not as good in any way. Like, overly rendering art does not help it at all in comics. And I realize that these guys could never get out of that, right? They're already so good. They are good. Um, that they would never be like allowed to um, have a comic that um, relied on something like a simplified form or simplified face, or drawing a character that isn't in a super stylized pose. That's everybody's got these stylized poses, right? So it's quite sad, in my opinion, because even when these guys are saying, yeah, that's totally true, you know, but there they are looking at it, and it's true. The Joe Kubert art is great, um, and I would say the same thing for the Herb Trimpe art. Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, all those guys, um, because they are still allowed to cartoon. And in manga, you're still allowed to cartoon. You're not allowed to cartoon in a Western comics. You're only allowed to draw a certain way. And where your quote unquote style can come in is in a very limited place if you're a pro. And that seems terrible. I think that I should push his ear back a little bit, right? That seems terrible. So they're like showing like um Kubert Tarzans and Kubert Sergeant Rock and Kubert Blitzkrieg and Kubert Hawkmans, which date all the way back to the Silver Age. And there's even they even showed the covers of Rima the Jungle Girl. And people are noting like, oh, this arm doesn't even seem to attach at the right point. It looks completely right. It looks dynamic and it looks completely right. They're not allowed to draw like that. And I think that's too bad. And I think it's too bad also for the fans of comics who are not allowed to see art rendered from the imagination as much, or a certain kind of imagination. It just, quote unquote, looks too dated. They are incorrect. All right, let's take a look at what we got for this panel. Once I pull the pencil lines off, excuse me, we do have some messy lines that need to be cleaned up. But that is easily done. They also found some early Michael Golden inking on some of this, on some of these Kubert pages, which is kind of cool. All right, now how do we do this inking here? We want to show that this is the light source. So I think that we can do it like this. I could even kind of black this out. What makes this double sad to me is these guys aren't even. There is no pro comic book industry anymore. It's gone, guys. I mean, you can go, oh, technically, there are still DC and Marvel comics that they don't really work for. They could be making anything they wanted to, and it could look like anything they wanted to. And they clearly appreciate the way vintage comics looked. Um, Now, I think what the one of the real other issues is it's really not their style anymore. They've trained themselves to do the acceptable style of comics. I guess my real issue is I don't want to do that. I want to still draw like I draw, you know? Whatever that is. And I have no uh, ambition or intention to try and get like a gig drawing mainstream comics at all. I'm close to retirement age, and I plan on just making comics for fun that have to be completely readable, completely understandable, and exciting in their own way without having to look like any particular, predetermined template. I think that's oh, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that, man. All right. Let's get a bubble in there. That's too thick. Let's bring it down a little bit. Nope, that's maybe something like that. How about this background? I'm going to put the background in. Oops, cancel. Guess I can. Once again, I'm going to try and get some more black. To the extent that I want to draw comics, I want them to look like real, in my opinion, vintage comics. And there's no, house look or anything like that I'm interested in trying to do. You know, other than the looks that I am interested in doing, I'd love to do. I like the I like the Silver Age look. I like the Kirby look. I like the Ditko look. I like the Ramita Senior look. This is looking good. Look at that. See, you got the black in the background. You don't want to layer in these bulky black areas. And that seems to work. Okay. That only took about 10 minutes. Let's do this next one. We want this look of determination on Blaze's face. And he realizes he's completely alone. If I want to have his fangs up there, I might leave those lower fangs out. Oh, up here in the corners, we want to make sure his ears are slightly visible. That ear is in place. Okay. And yes, we're definitely covering up some speech over there, but when we put the bubble in, it'll bring that back. So here I've got thick lines set up. We also can do thin lines, though. Sounds like this could be a little bit nerve wracking because you're getting in real close. So you want to be able to do some real detail without somehow making it worse, like making it not look good. But I think people should be comfortable with how their art looks. And obviously, it doesn't have to. That doesn't mean you settle for it or like this is as good as I'll ever get or anything like that, or not strive to improve. But you should get to a point where you're comfortable with it and see if that works. It's gonna throw a little hair down there. Um, where you're definitely telling the story. And I think that's what a lot of, especially these kind of pro dudes, I think they're not seeing the forest for the trees. They don't see that you're just there rendering a story. You're not there trying to get, you know, the best art award or the most accurate art award. And I think that the old pros kind of understood that. And as a consequence, their art was less generic, you know, by far. That's why I appreciate like an artist like Tom Scioli. All right. Or one of like, let's say the underground's like Seth. It doesn't have that commercial look, but um, it's still a completely um, viable, unique, look, and it's his look. You can see it. You can recognize it immediately. I felt like those lines. Even one of my favorite teachers. It's kind of funny. He was the subject of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came up, and he was telling me. I remember being at the Comic Con where it debuted, and everyone had a copy of it. Like everyone was there and was really excited about it. And he said he just didn't get it because it was poorly drawn. Like, and I just don't get it. And I'm like, I know why you don't get it. I know why, but I know why that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are something that everybody watching this video, if there's probably like 4 people that are going to watch this video, right? Everybody knows who those characters are. But if I told you my teacher's name, I don't think a lot of you would know what he worked on or what he was capable, or whatever. And some of you might. Okay, so the teacher was Tom Mandrake. What did he work on? You'd have to look it up. Okay, I'll just tell you. He worked on Swamp Thing. He worked on a lot of horror oriented heroes. I think he did a Shazam here and there. But he's really kind of a horror guy at DC. Everyone's going to remember Eastman and Laird forever. And I don't think they're going to remember, you know, Mandrake's work forever. Because, and he's great, by the way. I think he's wonderful. And gave me some of the best instruction I've ever had. This is my first narrative art teacher that I had. Um, but these guys don't see, they, I hope this doesn't sound insulting at all because I completely respect their artwork. They don't see um, outside of that commercial realm. They don't see what looks fun, what looks um, what's telling the story, what looks fun. And who could see that sort of thing? Well, Kubert himself could. Oh, that looks good right there. I like those eyebrows. Why didn't I put those in earlier? Kubert himself is and there's multiple accounts of saying I don't really care what your artwork looks like. Um, you have to get the storytelling right. Okay, there's a couple of interviews with former students that are right here on YouTube where that's what people recounted. I think there is a bare minimum competency in art, but there's just no doubt in my mind that um, the art is not, um, beyond a certain point, the art is not the storytelling. The storytelling is in the art. It's really hard for me to explain. And it shouldn't be, because even like the sort of low rent, unknown manga creator seems to get this, even when their art isn't that good. I mean, I was reading the first, it's like the first 20 chapters or so of Kinniku Man, which is 1978 or something like that. And the art's terrible. Like the art is like complete garbage. It's nowhere near as good as even the art that's in, my amateur anthology at all. And yet, Kinniku Man was funny enough and interesting enough. Am I in the right? Yeah. Funny enough and interesting enough that it became a national sensation. Sponsored a toy line. And over time, those artists did become good. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means something. Oh, fuck. Okay, how's this going to look? Looks okay. I don't know if I like where his okay, I might have to delete some of the texture in this area. This is by his ear. I want to set it apart a little bit somehow. Could we be at the end of this page? I think we might be at the end of this page. All right, let's take a look at it. I'll bring Fang. Bring them down. Separate them. Soon, Snapper goes down. Um, we have the scene of Blaze and Snapper's knocked out. Blaze is surrounded by the Leatherwings. In anguish, he looks down at him. Snapper! And then he says, "It's just me now. It's just me now." Do you see the determination? This is what's going to happen. And that's the story, right? That's, he realizes he's isolated, but he flips the script and he's like, um, he's going to really make him pay. All right, anyways, I'm looking at my lines here, and I got 540. This is about when I would normally wake up. And I want to break up some of those dark black lines. So it's really easy to do. Just throw it down like that. Looking good, baby. All right. I'm going to show you how I post to Instagram. I post all my pages to Instagram. The way I do it is I go over here to add and I copy the canvas. And I have a special. This is, let me see how big this is. It's the exact size for Instagram landscape, not landscape, portrait, 2160 by 2700 pics. And you just clear what's on there, which is the previous page. Whoops. Crap, I gotta go back. Where are we? Copy the canvas. Go to your shim. I call it a shim. Paste it in. And you can see it doesn't take up the whole area, but that means that when I post to Instagram, nothing gets cut off. And then I take it and I share it, JPEG version, which is the low res version, right? It's already in low res because of the size. And then I write a little caption. I get a little caption. This one says Blaze stands alone. And then I give it indie comics tag, hashtag, indie comics art. And I say okay. And then I share it. And it's posted. Boom. Then I go over here. Hang on. This is my. Oh, somebody's messaging me. Dana McGinnis. The Great Sideburns. Awesome. Let's see what he's up to. Funhouse Gallery started following you. Okay, cool. And then I just want to make sure that it got there. Looks like it got there. So there we go. And now for fun, I can also post. I like to post a couple of different places. Link share, art share. Page 13 is done. 13 done! Exclamation point, because I'm excited. Paste. Boom. And just for fun, I think we're going to post over there on Twitter. I don't post all my pages, so if you're following me on Twitter and you're not getting the whole story, you should follow me on Instagram as well. And let's see, how do I do that? Well, the best way to do it is this way. I say the best way. Come on, where's Procreate? There it is. I could take this version, share it again, JPEG, Twitter, page 13, Be Strangers. Tweet. There we go. There we are. So there's all kinds of stuff what we can do with comics. It's just words and pictures. There is no comics industry anymore. If there ever was, it's gone. And we shouldn't care. We shouldn't care because it wasn't doing anything for anyone. What matters is that you tell your story, that you create your own characters, you tell your stories that you want to tell. And my stories right now happen to involve lovable mutant animals, and also, Tarzan. There's my Tarzan page. Whoops. And also, what's my other one? A barbarian that goes to Wonderland. Those will all be in the Adventure Awaits anthology, and there will be more because I draw every day. And there's nothing wrong with drawing just like you draw. I mean, if it's good. Doesn't have to look like any particular thing or style. Just has to tell the story. All right, let's move on. Please like, follow, and subscribe, and I will talk to you later. And until next time, it's just me now.